because I do think it is a very important part of a relationship. And those of our listeners who are in a relationship should ask the question, when was the last time my partner challenged me? When was the last time that I challenged my partner? And that could be both on, but again, always from a place of love and support, right? I think that has to be right. So challenge means that I feel that after speaking to them about this, whatever it is, I feel motivated, inspired to grow, to change.
Or maybe I'm just thinking differently and I hadn't even thought of it in that way, right? Let me give you an example. I wrote about this couple in my book, Rethink Love. His name's Ethan. And funnily enough, when men had read this chapter, a few came to me like, who's Ethan? We really want to talk to him. And they were joking kind of, because the story goes like this. He is British, and when he'd come home from work every day, his wife literally would be waiting by the front door with a Highland Park Scotch neat, and she would take his briefcase and, take his coat, and then they would go up to the bathtub where she had drawn a bath for him, and he would drink his scotch while she rushed his back, and he would tell her about his day. Of course, food was already cooking. The children had done their homework. They were all bathed, ready to eat dinner for him. And that's why most men were like, well, who's this Ethan? And more importantly, like, where's his wife, right? But he was very unhappy in the relationship. He was quite bored. He didn't feel challenged. He didn't feel inspired. She never piqued his curiosity. And it's not her fault, by the way. He set this relationship up. This is what he thought he wanted going into marriage. And this is who he looked for. And this is what he created, right? And so she didn't really do anything wrong. She thought that that's what he wanted. But ultimately, he felt completely unfulfilled in the marriage. And I think ultimately she did too. The way he handled it wasn't great. He ended up cheating on her and leaving and breaking up the family, when in fact, perhaps it could have worked had she been really somebody who had challenged him, who had met him with his interest or been more curious about things. And that's the kind of challenge I'm referring to.
Right. And also, as we do to each other, and I think usually in the right way, when you see a partner either behaving in a way that
usually or always.
Usually. None of us are,
No.
except
None of us are perfect.
You're perfect.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
not. But when you see your partner behaving in a way that you think is not their best, bringing that up in a loving and caring way.
But our interest though is that we want to be our best, and that's
Yes,
why
and
that
we wanna
works
grow
in our
and we wanna
marriage.
change.
But that's the thing. This is the part that's tricky, because if you have a relationship that, let's say, is not rooted in spirituality, right? So if one partner is constantly pointing out to the other partner, like, look, you weren't your best here. And they're like, well, I wasn't really asking you. I mean, you could see how that would go terribly wrong. So of course, ultimately the most fulfilling relationships are ones that are rooted in a spiritual practice and therefore are open to this kind of
Well, I would
feedback.
add, like I've said before, and I really strongly believe this, I think it's almost impossible, again, for a relationship to be its best version if both partners are not desiring to grow and to change together. Because otherwise, like you said, either it gets boring or without purpose.